Dick Butkus, Bronco Nagurski, Payton Wilson, Ring of Honor, NC State.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Wolfpack, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Happy Thursday. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We're going to surrounding Payton Wilson, the season he's having, his legacy at NC State, the awards that he's been nominated for, and what this all means heading into the final 2 weeks of this college football season. Now, we saw on Wednesday, I believe it was, Payton was named as a finalist for the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, which is the top defender in all of college football. I want to read to you the other four finalists and their stats, because after you hear this, there will be no other discussions to be had on the matter. The four other finalists, in addition to Payton: Jerzon Newton, defensive tackle from Illinois. He's got 42 tackles, 6.5 TFLs, 5.5 sacks, 2 PBUs, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Cooper DeJean, cornerback from Iowa, 41 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 picks, and 5 PBUs. Malachi Starks, defensive back from Georgia, 33 tackles, 2 picks, and 5 PBUs. Xavier Watts, defensive back from Notre Dame, 42 tackles, 2.5 TFLs, 7 picks, 4 PBUs, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Payton Wilson, linebacker, NC State, 112 tackles, 12 TFLs, 4 sacks, 2 picks, one of those was a pick six, 6 PBUs, and 2 fumble recoveries. Do I need to say anything else on the matter? If Payton Wilson is not the Bronco Nagurski winner, the trophy shouldn't be handed out.
I think that Watts and the defensive tackle from Illinois are probably having the most impactful seasons. I think the safety from Georgia, he's having himself a fine season, but it's hard to kind of put him in that same category. Cooper DeJean, even before he got hurt, with all due respect to him, he suffered from the curse of success that most corners suffer from, where if you're good enough, they just stop throwing your way. They're just like, hey, that side of the field's done for, and that's what's happened over there. But the reality is, I mean, because of the position that he plays and the way that he plays it, he just has a bigger impact on the game than any of his contemporaries in this instance. So it's tough for me to say that there is anybody else who's really deserving or who's really as impactful, shall I say. Not who's as deserving, because I think all these young men have phenomenal impacts on their defenses, phenomenal impact on the game that they play in and all that, but nobody does it quite to his level on a consistent basis. Because, again, a defensive tackle, you can run away from him, you can run around him, you can say, all right, this is what we're going to do there. We're going to double him in the pass game, whatever the case may be. Safeties is a little bit more difficult, but a corner, you can just throw away from him and leave it at that. But Payton is everywhere. I mean, the man is death, taxes, and Payton Wilson being near the ball, the 3 guarantees that you get out of life. And so I can't see a world where anybody else gets this trophy.
And in addition to the Bronco Nagurski Trophy, he's also going to be in the running for the Dick Butkus Trophy, which is the top linebacker in the country. Now, you might notice of the 5 finalists for the Nagurski, which is the top defender, Payton is the only linebacker listed in that group. I feel like it should be pretty cut and dry there as well. There is simply no one that is impacting a defense the way that Payton Wilson is impacting NC State's defense this year. Like you said at Kenton, he is everywhere all at once. If it's a run play, he's in the gap. If it's a pass play, he can pick it and take it to the house. He's in the backfield nearly every single play. You can only hope to contain him. And even then, you probably can't get the job done because he is just having a simply monstrous season. And I want to sort of open this up into a bigger discussion about the legacy that he's going to leave behind here at NC State. I remember when he took that pick six back to the house just a couple weeks ago against Clemson. It hit me almost instantly. I said, I think he just put himself in the NC State Ring of Honor. I think that play was sort of a defining play, especially for this season. And I think his body of work would add up to him being in this Ring of Honor. What say you? You know, you looked at his sophomore season and you said, my God, how much better can he get? Like how much higher of a ceiling is it? You're not getting much better than 108 tackles, 11.5 for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 ints, 3 PBUs. You're not getting better than that. Yes, he's going to get older. He's going to get bigger, stronger, faster. But I'm like, he's leaving. We're not going to see him around for much longer. And we've seen guys before not officially shut it down, but for that last year, kind of temper it down a little bit in terms of what they got. And yet somehow Payton Wilson has more of everything than he had that year. He's already up at 112 tackles for the season with 2 games left. He's already exceeded the tackles for loss with 12 with 2 games in the season left. Already exceeded the number of sacks with 4. Tied the number of picks. And then you add in 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, this is something like we've never seen. And if you're talking in terms of where is his legacy all time in NC State history, there was a famous coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers who played a little bit of football in Raleigh. His name is Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher, for his career, had 371 tackles. Payton Wilson is up to 376. Man, this is when you talk about the pantheon of NC State greats, when you talk about guys that you cannot, to me, what defines greatness is you can't write the story of a team, of a year, of a program without talking about this young man, this young woman, this young person, or what they did while they were there. You cannot write the story of NC State from the day he walked onto this campus up through now. If you write the story without him, you'll have massive gaps that just do not make sense. You'll have massive gaps. So wait, NC State had one of the best linebacking cores in the nation. And, okay, Drake Thomas was really good. He was coming along. Isaiah Moore was really good. Who was the leader? Who was the guy that they said was the leader of the group? Oh. Okay, NC State had a really good defense, but there was this kid that was allegedly just a demon on the field, just everywhere. How do you write the story of that defense without him? How do you write the story of the ACC without him, honestly? Because look at a lot of the plays he's made in some really big-time games. Again, Payton Wilson, to talk about his legacy, it's a book that's still being written. But we're heading towards those last couple pages, and what a beautiful story it's been so far. There are certainly a couple pages here left to write. Hopefully, of course, he will stay healthy throughout the remainder of the season, but he will have at least 2 more games, depending on what he chooses for the bowl game. But yeah, you mentioned the ACC there. He should also be the ACC Defensive Player of the Year as well. Add that to the list. Certainly expecting a lot of hardware coming Payton Wilson's way in just a couple of weeks. Up next, we're going to be talking about Payton Wilson's defensive coordinator in Tony Gibson and his impact that he's had here in Raleigh, after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the best access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job and use the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Then use simple tools like screening questions to make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Our second sponsor of the day is Athletic Brewing Company. Athletic Brewing is completely changing the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good, that are full of flavor and well-crafted, just like a full-strength beer. The brews are great tasting and award-winning, beating out full-strength beers in global competitions. They brew over 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, golden, sours, and more. In addition, they're constantly releasing limited edition experimental styles to add to their variety. They are simply fit for all times. You can drink them anytime, anywhere, and make any activity more enjoyable. This includes watching the big game or your kids' game, tackling work, or working out. No matter the occasion, Athletic Brewing has you covered. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use code LOCKEDON to get 15% off of your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off of athleticbrewing.com. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. All right, back here now discussing Tony Gibson, defensive coordinator, and his impact on this NC State football team, the NC State defense, and the legacy that he currently has here at NC State. We saw, again, just recently, he was nominated as a Broyles Award nominee. This, of course, is for the top coordinator in all of college football, certainly making a very strong case yet again this season with the defense that he has been running out there every week, especially lately. But I saw this tweeted from Pack Football. After losing 5 players to the NFL, the Wolfpack defense is now ranked in the top 25 in the FBS in 10 different categories. Now, we spoke a lot over the summer about we've been hearing some murmurs, hearing a little bit of buzz that this defense could wind up being potentially better or at least a very minimal step backwards. What we're seeing now is what I believe we were hearing over the summer. We saw some struggles earlier in the season, but they have really hit their stride now, allowing 6 points in back-to-back games here. Got another tough test on the road up in Blacksburg, but what a job that Tony Gibson has done this year so far.
I want to quote the Gap Band here because outstanding. Boy, you knocked me out. This is a team that has absolutely done it, especially when you look at Tony Gibson's unit and talking about what they've been this year in comparison to what they were last year. It is crazy to think about that, statistically speaking, in terms of where we rank, not only in just yards, stats, all those things allowed, period, but also where we rank against our contemporaries. This defense is technically better than what we saw last year. I struggle to come up with words for this, and I hope and I pray. This may feel hyperbolic to some, but I really don't care. If we could find a way to make him the Bud Foster of NC State, right? Like if we could find a way to whatever you need, brother, keep throwing it to him, keep feeding it to him, keep giving it to him to keep him here in Raleigh. Do it. Do it, because this is one of the baddest men. And this isn't to disrespect anybody, but if somebody told me, Ken, there's going to be a let's say college is doing an expansion draft or whatever, and your coaches can get drafted too, and you can only protect one of your coaches. With all due respect to everybody else, this is no slight to anybody else. If we're talking coordinators, head coach, I'm keeping Gibson. I with all due respect, and that's not a knock against anybody else. That's not to say that anybody else is incompetent or they're horrible. I don't want them here. Nothing along those lines. Tony Gibson is that good. He's flatly phenomenal. He has made this defense not just something good, something special. Something special, something that you just year in and year out. People think I'm joking when I say he could put 11 sentient Roombas out there and they'd find a way to come up with some stops, but I believe it. I wholeheartedly believe it. And so with that being said, I mean, his impact cannot be understated. And whatever we got to do, if we got to back the Brinks truck up, if we got to listen, if we got to make sure that whatever he likes, make sure that there's a lot of it there, okay? I don't know if he's a Skittles guy like Marshawn Lynch. Build him a Skittles vending machine in his office. All he got to do is press the button. I don't care what it is that this man wants. Get it for Tony. Get it for him right now.
As we're entering another coaching carousel offseason, you can't help but get a little bit nervous seeing the amount of openings that are starting to come to fruition here around the country. And you just hope that NC State will do every single thing they can to keep a guy like Tony Gibson here in Raleigh. I tweeted the other day, Brinks truck him immediately, blank check, whatever it takes. Tony Gibson has to stay in Raleigh. And you make an interesting point with the expansion draft and keeping one coach. Again, I'm not trying to throw any shade either, but Dave Doran has to credit a lot of the success in the last 3, 4, 5 years. Tony Gibson's been here since 19, I believe. A lot of that has to go to Tony Gibson. A lot. The defense last year won ball games for us. The defense this year is winning ball games for us. If we didn't have the level of defense that we're playing at right now, who knows where we could be right now? Who knows if Coach Doran is here? That is the sort of impact that Tony Gibson has had here. And again, you simply cannot emphasize it enough. Whatever it takes to keep him here is what needs to happen. Whatever it takes, whether it is a Skittles machine or a blank check, the Brinks truck, real estate somewhere in the Raleigh area, NIL. You can't even conjure up NIL for coaches, but we need to find a way to do so.
Listen, I've been saying for the longest, a CPI ad with Tony Gibson standing there, nobody's going to defend your house like me. If you know the man, he's not lying. He is not lying. Baby, your items are safe. They are safe. You ain't never been more safe in your life. You might have driven through the nicest, most affluent suburbs that you've ever seen. That the best thing they got in Raleigh, best thing they got in North Carolina, best thing they got in America. You might have been driving through Beverly Hills. Your assets will never be as safe as if Tony Gibson is standing by with 11 dogs, ready to get after anybody coming near your house. Yeah, your assets are very safe. They're very safe. They're very so. Again, this is Tony Gibson is special, man. He's special. I run out of adjectives to kind of describe what a phenomenal job he's doing. I run out of verbiage to kind of express how special he has been and how impactful he has been on his team. Because again, year after year after year, loss after loss after loss. Well, oh man, how are we going to replace this guy? Well, he'll figure it out. And then, somebody else steps up. Oh man, we look rough right now. Oh, give him some time. He'll figure it out. And then all of a sudden, we start getting better. This is a team this is a unit rather, that every single player that you look at and say, oh man, they may have been an Achilles heel earlier in the year, all of a sudden, they're balling out at the end. Jalen Scott, we talked about how much we wanted him to step up earlier this year. Did he not lead the team in tackles last game and have a pick 2 in that game? Brandon Cisse, he's a young pup. He's a freshman. He's getting picked on a little bit. Did he not have an interception to seal the game 2 games ago? This is a unit that, again, every time you look up, it's just like, man, how are we going to replace C.J. Clark? Man, he's balling. He's playing out of his mind. Who's this Cleveland kid? What is he doing? Oh, man, how are we going to replace Savion Jackson? No, wait a minute. This Hibbler kid is doing the thing now. He's doing a thing or two out there. This is every time, if you were to tell me, hey, you get a blank slate of players, and what coach in the nation would you trust the most with? And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I have an eye for these things because I've been a Coach Drinkwitz stan from way back when. People are like, oh, you're on College Football Live every Friday. People are always, oh, my God, you're just such a big lover of Coach Drink. And I'm like, yes, I am. And now look, right? I think that he is the defensive equivalent, maybe even better, of what Coach Drink was.
Apparently, Coach Drink has been standing on business.
Stand on business, Josh. Stand on business, baby.
Speaking of standing on business, we got another ad to pay here. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third sponsor of the day is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is simply the most fun you can have this fantasy sports season. Now with basketball in play, you can pick a combo projection across football and basketball using the Specials League. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. So for example, you can choose LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made and receptions. If you want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, you can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app. You can view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community. PrizePicks also offers the reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players is injured. for football and basketball games. If you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So get over to prizepicks.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Last couple minutes here of our Thursday episode. Wanted to talk about the big win from women's basketball. They followed up their performance, knocking off number 2 UConn by putting a 55-burger on Elon at home in Reynolds Coliseum. Of course, the women's team is now ranked 14th. They jumped from unranked all the way up to 14th, very deservedly so, after putting the beats on UConn. But to follow that up and put 55 points on Elon's head with the best players still performing, Isaiah James is a baller. Mimi Collins had an exceptional game. I think she's going to have a big season here, very sneakily.
Listen, you can say what you want about her being in college for about 50, 11 years, but guess what? It's paying off. It's paying off. Mimi is getting it done, okay? She is becoming a rim protector. Not only that, she has found her stride in terms of the confidence of when to shoot and all that, because before it always looked like she was a little hesitant. Like she would grab the ball and like, do I want to shoot? Do I want to? And it would always take a little time for her to make a decision. She's confident. She's decisive. She's doing the things. This team, I'll tell you what. This team is feeling like one of them ones.
They're another team, and I said this about the men's team. They're good. I'm not going to put labels on them. I'm not going to give them expectations for where they'll end up by the end of the season. But the fundamentals of a good basketball team are there. They share the ball well. They're boxing out. They're not committing dumb fouls, hustle plays, good shot selection. It is all there. And I think it's probably even ahead of schedule. You know, we've mentioned a couple times the talent that Zoe Brooks has as just a freshman. Mm-hmm. Lacey Steele as well. These two freshman phenoms, I think, look ahead of schedule so far. And if you have two girls like that already rolling, this team could end up in a very special place by the end of this season.
Yeah, and Zoe Brooks does a little bit of everything. It's like she's Kayla Jones with the super soldier serum in her. She can do a little bit of everything and does it all well. She crashes the boards well. She has great court vision. She shoots the 3 ball well. I mean, and Lacey Steele, I'll tell you what, she don't lack for confidence. Nope. She don't lack for confidence. That's what you love to see out of a young player, because you know that as time goes along and she gets used to the ruckus environments and all that, she'll start hitting at a little higher of a clip. She'll start, I have no doubt, no worries about that. But when that comes along with that confidence, Alexa, play dead, because some folks are in trouble. Some folks are in trouble.
Yeah, so it's just sort of wild after you have an incredible game from Sanaya Rivers against UConn, maybe at an off night against Elon, and you still beat Elon by 55. That's the talent that this team is showing right now, and it's very delightful to see so early in the season.
Absolutely. And remember, when we were at our best, that's what we looked like. That's when we were, saying, hey, this team can go to the Final Four, this team can do all the things. It wasn't about one player absolutely carrying and just doing all the work. It wasn't about, hey, Alyssa Cunnane is going to give you 35 and 20. It was about, if Alyssa's having an off night or if they're doubling her too hard, Kai Crutchfield is going to step up and be big time. If Kai and Alyssa are having a bad night, Raina Perez is going to show up and do some special things. If Raina Perez is having a bad night and so is Kai Crutchfield, then Kayla Jones and Alyssa were going to show up. It was, regardless of how you cut it, how you sliced it, there was always a situation where the scouting report would have said, this is the player you need to watch. Yeah, Alyssa is the player. She's the one you got to watch. But the reality was any player could go off on any night, and that's how I feel about this women's team as well.
Yeah, life is good in Wolfpack land. It's continuing. You got football, both basketball teams rolling, wrestling, cross country, you name it. We're doing it at a high level right now. So again, shout out to the women's basketball team. Shout out to NC State Athletics as a whole, having another great week again this week. That'll do it for us here on Thursday. We'll have to catch you again on Friday for Fan Friday, as well as Kenton's Keys, as always. Thank you so much for the support this week. We've even had some Virginia Tech fans in the comments. Appreciate all of you as well. Looking forward to a good game this weekend. Be sure to drop a like, drop a comment, and mash that subscribe button. We will see you all tomorrow. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.